Welcome back to Talking Elvis. This gentleman here is Francis Rodney Zambon. And in 1968, he would write a song which would change his life. Francis Zambon was an Italian-American born in Houston, Texas in November 1940. And from a young age, he was very musical. At high school, he played the violin, he played the accordion, and also conducted the school orchestra. As a teenager, he began writing songs and performing in clubs and bars around Houston, Texas. In 1959, he released his first single on the Vamalco record label from Houston. The single Our Love Will Last with Jive Note was released in 1959. Under the band name The Naturals. It got to number 39 in the charts, which wasn't bad. It didn't take long for him to figure out that Francis Zambon was perhaps not the most rock and roll name that he could use, and he changed his name to Mark James. He subsequently continued writing songs, releasing singles, until he was drafted in 1963 and sent to Vietnam. In 1968, he was discharged. He wanted to get back into music, and he had a long-standing friendship with B.J. Thomas. Through that connection, he was invited to Memphis, Tennessee to be a staff songwriter for Chips Moman at American Sound Studios. As a staff songwriter, the deal was that Chips Moman would share in the publishing 50-50, but Mark James would retain the songwriting credits. James would later recall that late one night he was just sitting around playing with his Fender guitar, and using an organ as a bass line, he came across what he thought was a catchy melody. Soon he started to put lyrics to that medley and based it loosely on reflecting his feelings and his relationship at the time. While he was married, he was still in love with his childhood sweetheart. He took the song to Chips Moman, who loved it, and they recorded it right there at American Sound Studios. When it was done, they flew to New York and met with Scepter Records. Chips Moman had a connection there, and Scepter loved it. They thought it was a smash.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. But why can't you see what you're doing to me when you don't believe a word I say?
They did release it as a single, but the label had no money to promote it, so it was not a hit. Things would change the following January when Chips would play the song to Elvis Presley. Chips recalls that Elvis memorized it immediately, and he said that he wanted to record it. The news of Elvis recording your song got back to Mark James. He knew that Elvis was at American Sound, and prior to Elvis recording it, he went into the studio. He could sense that Elvis was uncomfortable with his presence, and not wanting to jinx the possibility of Elvis recording his song, he left them to it and didn't go back again while the sessions were underway.
Still see suspicion in your eyes. Cause I love you too much, baby. But don't you know I'm caught in a trap? Don't you know I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby.
By all accounts, Elvis loved it right away and requested the song to be played over and over. On the 23rd of January 1969, between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m., Elvis would record 8 takes of Suspicious Minds. The master take of Suspicious Minds is take number 8. We can call it a rough master. Because of the working relationship between Mark James and Chips Moman, that is what Mark James would have heard. His first thoughts and comments were that he thought it was too slow. Later, after the overdubs and the addition of the Holiday Sisters on background vocals, he was blown away. Although he might have felt a bit unwelcome in the studio when Elvis was there, he did later mention that whenever Elvis did see him, he would walk over and say hello. The next day, the 24th, Elvis returns and overdubs vocal harmonies. As with the policy, Hill and Range wanted a percentage of the publishing. Chips Moman said absolutely not. Hill and Range said, well, Elvis cannot record the song if you do not give up the publishing. Chip said, okay, take your $25,000, which apparently was the amount they had to pay for the studio, take it and shove it up your ass. To what extent Elvis knew about this, I am not sure. The next day, though, he flew to Vail, Colorado with Priscilla, Lisa Marie, and of course, a bunch of friends. It had been a while since Elvis had a major hit. RCA were pretty enthusiastic about the single. The general feeling was that it was a good song. Common sense prevailed. Chips and Mark James kept the publishing, with the songwriting credits staying with James. Once done, the tapes were shipped to Felton Jarvis. Felton would add the bizarre fade that we have on the single. This was due to 2 reasons. One, I'm guessing, the fact that Hey Jude had come out in the summer of 1968 and one of the longest singles ever. I feel that this was almost Felton's way to almost compete. But more than that was a feeling of wanting to be in control. He had apparently been very jealous about the fact that Elvis was using Chips as a producer, so he wanted to make his mark on it. I have always found it bizarre, quite honestly, pointless. It lasts for a long time, 15 seconds in fact, from 3 minutes 36 to 4 minutes 22. As a former radio DJ, I hated it. It just seemed pointless to me. Elvis's version was released on the 26th of August. It got to number 1 in the US in November. It would be Elvis's last number 1 single in the US. It got to number 2 in the UK. If there is any song in the history of music that deserved to be a number 1 both in the US and the UK, it was Suspicious Minds. When it was released in the UK, the Arch's Sugar Sugar was number 1. It stayed number one for 2 months as Elvis continued to creep up the charts. And just prior to it reaching number 2, Rolf Harris goes straight into number 1 with Two Little Boys. Go figure. The song itself was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's listed as one of the top 500 songs of all time by Rolling Stone. It's been covered by several different artists. I remember well from 1982 Candy Statton's version, and also a version from the Fine Young Cannibals from 1986. They had a top 10 hit with it. I met the lead singer and interviewed him on the radio, Roland Gift, the lead singer of Suspicious Minds, or lead singer of the Fine Young Cannibals. And I asked him why he chose to cover what was essentially Elvis's version from Madison Square Garden. And he just looked at me as if I had lost my mind or something. I wonder to this day where that version came from. Maybe he thinks that the record label and the band itself created that faster version. I don't know. Mark James would continue as a songwriter, and he was successful. Many different artists recorded his songs. Elvis recorded songs he co-wrote, Always on My Mind being one of them, It's Only Love, Raised on Rock, and Mark James also wrote Moody Blue. I've never fully understood about music publishing, royalties, and how much money songwriters get for songs that they have written. I've always been under the impression that it was actually quite a small amount of money that a songwriter would get for sales of a particular song. And I asked him how much he had made off Suspicious Minds, and I asked him how often he received money from it. He said every time it gets played, every time it's released on a compilation. Not every time Elvis sang it live, but every time an album came out of Elvis singing it live. I found him to be very humble. He did say that he had done very well out of it, and Elvis recording that song had set him up for the rest of his life. Mark James died on the 8th of June 2024. He was 83 years old. It was recorded by Elvis 57 years ago this month. And for us fans that have heard it a trillion times, we can maybe be forgiven for being a bit complacent about it, but still knowing deep down that it is one of the greatest pop songs of all time. It was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999. It is considered as one of Elvis's most standout tracks. We know already of Elvis's ability to put real emotion into the songs that he cared about. He manages to do this throughout the entirety of the song. There is a mixture of yearning and anxiety, and it's truly one of Elvis's most believable performances, not to mention it being a showstopper when Elvis recorded it live. Elvis fan or not, Suspicious Minds is one of the greatest singles ever. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
Oh, let our love survive. Oh, dry the tears from your eyes. Let's don't let a good thing die. When, honey, you know I have never lied to you. gonna be